As you know, the media is up in arms over Trump's tweets and subsequent running on a campaign on those vitriolic tweets, essentially telling Congress member to go back to Africa. 3 of those Congress members literally came from the United States. Interesting to note on this, the media got a mic in front of Elizabeth Warren, and they're asking Elizabeth Warren, do you think this is racist? Now, this question is always interesting to me. I don't care if Trump is racist. I care what Trump does. And I've baked into the cake that he was racist on the day that he got elected. Elizabeth Warren, in this moment, is being pushed by this guy to say that he is. And she says everything else except that Trump is racist. It's not so much that I need Elizabeth Warren to say that Trump is racist. I'm also curious on why she's using this word salad answer to avoid saying he's racist, if that makes sense. It's more so the fact that she can't say it and that she's saying it, but she's running around Robin's bod not to say it. I think I know why, though. Welcome to the Soapbox. I want to talk about it. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you enjoyed this content, you find yourself coming back here often, please like this video, share this video. We're trying to hit 25,000 at this point. We're close. Not to mention, I'm trying to grow the channel. So, and if you definitely like the content, please consider supporting through PayPal or Patreon. Even $1 helps. Now, I admit that there's a slight aspect of clickbait to this video, but not entirely. There is a point that I'm trying to make, or that I kind of want to get to, that I find to be really, really interesting. And I kind of want to talk about it. This is Sanders. This is Sanders back in 2019, January 2019.
About justice, and today we talk about racism. And I must tell you, it gives me no pleasure to tell you that we now have a president of the United States who is a racist.
He has no issue saying it. This was in January. This was in January. He was making no bones about it then. Now, if you remember, Bernie Sanders lost that last election in 2016 on the back of the black vote. Hillary Clinton was kissing babies and drinking hot sauce in order to get that black vote. And to some degree, that alienated her when she ran in the main race. You had a lot of people who flipped from Obama to Clinton. They weren't racist when they were voting for Obama, so you can't necessarily bring in on this thing of race. And yet, people flipped. Sanders, in this case, has no issue at all bringing up the fact that the president of the United States is racist. He hits it nail on the head. Sanders needs the black vote. 90% of African Americans vote Democrat. 90% vote Democrat. Sanders knows what he's doing. Now, Warren, however, is asked a similar question, and that's not in January. That is today or yesterday. This is only a few days ago. Listen to her answer.
His political ends. He thinks I just think what the president has said is appalling. And he's trying to stir up as much hatred and dissension in this country as possible because it serves his political ends. He thinks if he can set American against American, that somehow he prospers. But I'll tell you this, the United States.
That's true, by the way.
Is the president racist?
Look at his remarks. He's made racist remarks, and he's been racially hateful to people. That's what matters.
When is he racist?
I don't have to look at his heart. That's not the point. He behaves. Look at what he's done. It's racist. What he's done over and over and over.
Notice that she said it's racist what he's done. She felt the need to clean it up. And again, it's not so much that I need Elizabeth Warren to call Trump racist. I don't really care about whether she calls Trump racist. And I agree with her. What he does matters. What is in his heart, nobody knows. It's very possible that Trump is doing this for political expedience. I think that's worse than him being racist, if I'm being honest. But actually, I think this is just who he is. Now, the interesting part here is her not doing it. if that makes sense. My wife sometimes says I tend to push people to try to get an answer out of them, and in doing so, it makes the person uncomfortable. That's kind of what's taking place here. But the reason why he's pushing her, because it's odd that she's using all of this phraseology to not just say the basic Trump's racist. Again, it's not that I need her to say it. It's more so it's fascinating and curious why she's saying everything else except that. When Sanders, as you can see here, has not the slightest issue in nailing Trump's ass to the wall.
It gives me no pleasure to tell you that we now have a president of the United States who is a racist.
No issue. This guy is ready to get into a cage match with Trump. I don't know what Elizabeth Warren is trying to do. This guy is trying to fight, and he's at the very least throwing his weight behind the African American community. Look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden has another interesting comment. Joe Biden compares Trump to George Wallace. He said Donald Trump is more George Wallace than George Washington. But what Joe Biden did there is the exact same thing that Elizabeth Warren did. He might have did it a little bit better, a little bit smoother, but you still get his impression George Wallace was a racist. Now, the wild part about this is that means that Joe Biden and George Wallace may get along fantastic, especially in the sense of getting policy accomplished, seeing his previous record with busing and with throwing black bodies in prison. My point is this. I think I know why Elizabeth Warren can't do that and why Sanders can. Sanders needs to get through the primary. But what Sanders knows is that, just like Joe Biden, the demographic that Trump gets is the demographic that they also win. Meaning, Joe Biden, Trump, and Sanders just demographically get the white male vote. Look at the polling on this. I shit you not. When you're looking at the polling, one of the things that spooked Donald Trump was when Donald Trump realized that the same voters that Donald Trump got in order to win the election are the same voters that Joe Biden gets, but are also the same voters that Sanders gets. They get them just by definition of sorts, just by them going about their policies. Sanders more so because Sanders focused so much on economics as opposed to the identity stuff. But he doesn't have to dance around in this way, because he already gets that demographic. So Elizabeth Warren doesn't get that demographic.
I just think what the president...
She's weaker from the standpoint of getting the white male vote. And if you come out and say, yes, the president of the United States is racist for telling people to go back to Africa, and there is a large segment of the population, 70% is white, there's a large segment of that population that would look at that and say, I see nothing wrong with that tweet, and I may even identify with that tweet to some degree. And if I call the president racist for this, I may lose those voters every so much as creating this kind of where you annex your voter base. Like, whereas Clinton, because of the way Clinton ran through the primary, she alienated the white voting bloc. The male white vote is that voting bloc that Hillary Clinton needed to win. The Democratic Party needs it to win. In general, Sanders gets that voting bloc. Warren does not. If Warren comes out and says that, then it's possible, at least I would suspect, in Warren's head, she can lose out of that particular demographic and once again, just like Clinton, alienate a voting bloc that already is skeptical of her. I could be wrong. And nobody's going to ask Warren. So it's hard to know. But I strongly suspect that the reason why Sanders can do this and Warren can't is for that specific reason. But that goes to a secondary point. Do you know who put this on here? Tim Black. You know what Tim Black said when he put this on here? He was not happy that Warren doing this. The reason he wasn't happy is because she's dancing around a particular issue. If you're saying, I think the president is racist, hateful, and all this other stuff, and he's used his rhetoric and everything, and the reporter says, well, if you're saying that he's done all this stuff, but you're saying he's not racist, well, I don't know what's in his heart. Now, some African Americans look at that and says, what do you mean? Bernie Sanders can say that the guy's racist. Why can't you? Her dancing around it looks weird, and it draws a circle around it as opposed to her just saying it. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Because again, I don't care whether Warren says it or not. I don't even care if Trump is racist or not. It matters less to me. I agree with Warren's point that what matters is kind of what Trump does in the operative world. Whether you want to call Trump racist or not, whether you want to use a label or not, matters somewhat less to me in the sense of what he is. I hope that matters. I hope you understand my point. I care more about the fact that I think he's putting somebody's life in jeopardy and the way that he's running through his campaign. By the same token, the reporter asking her this and her inability to just say it draws more attention to it than if she would have just said it. And the attention that it draws to it is the basic question of why can't Warren say it, but Sanders can? And if Warren thought she could say it and get away with it, would she? Like, I find this interesting. And nobody is going to ask Warren about this very particular point. Nobody. But that's my hypothesis. That's what I think it is. I could be wrong, but that's what I think it is. Aaron Hampton, Warren wants the passive racist demographic. That's funny. You're extremely wrong on this, JT. Okay, John Hill thinks I'm wrong on this. John Hill thinks I'm wrong. The passive racist demographic is funny, though. You're extremely wrong on this. He thinks I'm extremely wrong on this. Well, I would say this. Elizabeth Warren has a problem with a certain voting demographic. That particular voting demographic is essentially the voting demographic that Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden carries. Sanders needs to get through the primary. And Sanders is going for the black vote full bore. He's telling you where he stands. The dodging the question, as opposed to just saying it, looks weird. It draws a circle around it. I'm just saying. Elizabeth Warren is a proud warrior for America. I love the terminology. It sounds like a Native American. She's a proud warrior with her head thing. For the longest time, she called herself a Native American. So you're right about that, real dark legend. You're right about that part. A proud warrior of the Mohican make shit up tribe. All right, I'm going to end this here. And look, I have no issue with Warren domestic policy. And there is nothing at all necessary, no reason that Warren needs to call Trump a racist. So I want to nail that home, because the video is not necessarily about the fact that she doesn't do it. It's more about why she can't do it. I just find it interesting. It just draws a circle around it. Ruben Garcia, hello again, Jamal. What's happening, Ruben? Sanders obsession syndrome, sad. Bojack. Call it whatever you want to call it. It's what it is. We are in election season. So there's that. The $5 trap. I mean, come on. The woman was running by Native American. All right, I'm going to end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the PayPal or Patreon. Thanks all. I'll see you guys in a few.